On. So Laura, welcome to the show. Can't thank you enough for coming on and joining me.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
So Laura, you're Malakai Entertainment, is that correct?
That is very correct.
And so where, I have it in my notes somewhere, but where are you located out of?
We are located in northern New Jersey. So to be specific, we're in Wharton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And most people would know Rockaway or Morristown.
What was the first one?
Rockaway, New Jersey.
Walkaway? Okay.
Yeah, so we're right next to Rockaway, like literally like a mile.
Okay. So, you said Rockaway. Did you say Walkaway or Rockaway?
Like
Like a rock?
oh,
Yeah, rock. Okay. Because some me and my buddies, one of them is always kind of making fun of New Jersey. We have some friends in New Jersey. We're always teasing them. So when you said walk away, I said, yeah, maybe.
No.
Okay, but so
Maybe I should have said walk.
Walk. Oh, walk.
Yeah, not walk. It's rock.
Awesome. Well, hey, Laura, how about you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do, and what you've been up to?
Well, that's a lot to answer.
We got time.
My name is Laura La Monaco, and I started out in this industry as an actress, and I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with the industry, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else. I started out writing, and then I started to act, and now I do both. I more behind the scenes now. I'm not really acting right now. I've taken a long hiatus, but I'm behind the scenes building Malakai Entertainment. We have been building this company pretty fast here in 2020, thanks to COVID-19. So while people unfortunately are sitting home, wondering when they're going back to work, I've been able to take advantage of it and basically build a company in the last few months. We have an intern working with us, we have an assistant, and we brought on a business partner.
Awesome. So, offline, we were discussing a little bit about you guys are actually still productive. Are you guys back on set yet?
We're not back on set, but there's a lot of behind the scenes that go on. We currently have, well, as of this morning or yesterday, as of yesterday, we have 36, possibly 37 projects that we are looking at producing. They are either in development or pre-production. We have one reality TV show that is in pre-production. That is our main focus right now, and I'll get back to telling you more about that. We have a short film that we had to put on hold thanks to COVID-19, but we're looking and in talks about bringing that back to pre-production, and there'll be a sequel to that short film. We have another feature film that we are in pre-production for, doing the budget, a lot of line producing, breakdown type pre-production things there. Our productions, the projects that we have going on, they're not necessarily centralized here to New Jersey. Our reality show is New Jersey. That'll be held in, we're hoping northern New Jersey. We're looking at a couple studios right now and looking to see what would be best. And one project would be filmed in North Carolina. The other film would be in Georgia, and a possibility for another one in California. And that's just the first few.
Awesome. So how was it right now? It's like, now's the time for the pre-production and the prepping.
Yes. So for now, pre-production can be a long time. This is when you basically get all your ducks in the row, cross your I's or dot your I's and cross your T's, as they say. So making sure insurance is caught up, make sure you got the accounting, looking at your budgets to see if you can decrease your budget, save money someplace, maybe move it around. You want to take another look at that script, see if it would come out better, if it was revised a little or edited. Make sure those locations that you got are still available, making those phone calls. Yeah, so there's a lot that goes on in pre-production. You want your head departments for your crew. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
people think you cast first, but you don't.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we've pretty much been in quarantine, I'd say, for me, 6 months. How would you say you've been affected? How was the last 6 months?
Well, I mean, for the paperwork and whatnot, a lot of stuff we've been able to do on computer and through Zoom meetings and emails. We were supposed to go into pre-production, or we were supposed to go into production actually with one of our shorts in August. And then well, originally it was June, and then we bumped it to August. And then we were looking at doing it this month, and we just put it on hold because we do produce a lot of union projects. In fact, all of our projects so far are union. So with that being said, there's a lot of guidelines that you have to follow with the virus. And in order to make sure that we are up to par, we wanted to go back and study those guidelines, and we have to put money forth to make sure all of that is possible. So we decided to put it on hold and make sure we had all our ducks in a row for that. And it also gave us time to raise some money if needed and look at some background that we didn't look at yet,
Yeah.
um, and some other potential cast members and kind of revisit the script. So it's not horrible that we had to put it on hold. We used it to our advantage, and that's the best thing you can do in these types of situations.
Yeah. Well, I just got certified as a COVID compliance officer,
Oh, great.
um, but yeah, there's a lot to it that it's pretty much 50% capacity, 50% cast, 50% crew. Um, Before, it was the first AD that was first on set, last offset. Now it's the CCO that's like that's first on set, last offset. So
Yes. You know,
it's
we looked up the certification. When we have two producers here, myself and my business partner, and we're both going to probably get the certification ourselves so that at least one of us is always able to be on set.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And I know it's I mean, from your point of view, are you saving money or is it going to be more expensive?
No, it's we find it that more money is going out faster than the money can come in right now.
Hmm.
But we've also focused more on the expenses. And when COVID hit, I mean, I've been in business for a couple of years now, but even though I was in business, it takes a couple of years for your business to get up and running. And in the beginning, I wasn't really sure exactly what area I wanted to focus on. So I spent the first year trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And spent the second year kind of teaching myself and getting like photography gigs here and there, learning camera work when I could. And then it wasn't really until 2020 when I made the decision to say, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, but not funny, because one of those decisions that I made was to rent an office space because I figured my vision for the company, this is not something I can just work from the house. Um, I was going to need an office space because I wanted to build and I wanted to bring in people. And especially with New Jersey and the semi new tax incentives, I wanted to bring in more filming to New Jersey. So it just made sense to get the office space. However, once I got the office space, it was at the end of February. And my partner and I had already had a vacation planned, like a year in advance. And I signed the lease and we left a week later for our vacation, which was a cruise. And when we came back was when COVID hit.
Right when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally came back to an office where we were paying rent that we could not access.
Right.
So I had the phones hooked up, the internet hooked up, the office, and no income, just expenses.
Right.
We're hurting a little bit, but we know we have a great company for people, and we really do hope to be a household name. So we just rebooted our mission statement, and we're very, very proud of it.
Awesome.
We're happy to bring that.
So what is that? What's the, can you tell us?
Yeah, I can. Just give me a second.
Sure. Yeah.
Memorized because we literally just came up with it yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome.
We don't even have it on our website or anything yet. So it is Malakai Entertainment is to offer a family-oriented environment, working together through inspiration and creativity, providing an all-inclusive atmosphere through diversity, each project being cared for with celebrity status.
Fantastic. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and so it just goes to show that we're still working on striving through, adapting, overcoming, and yeah, like for me and my wife, we just had a kid, and it was kind of a blessing in disguise, and just being hands on this whole time. And I've mentioned this pretty much every episode, but it was definitely a blessing in disguise that we were able to. We had something rooted already. We had bought a house about a year ago, and the kid was born, a couple of weeks before, our state, and I'm pretty sure it was the entire country went, shelter in place, quarantine, self quarantine, things of that nature. But yeah, it definitely gave me an opportunity to, prep an outline and pre-produce, the third seasons, edit the second seasons of a couple of shows that me and some colleagues have, start prepping the third and fourth seasons, um, you know, take my time in editing, some other projects that I had in the can, and a lot of writing and a lot of prep, and long-term plans, short-term goals, things of that nature. And but yeah, you said you were on a cruise with your husband, you said?
My partner, yes.
Oh, your partner. And so that kind of delves into how were you affected, personally?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, I'm trying to build a business and we got back and pretty much COVID hit. We were literally on the cruise when everybody was hearing about the virus. And when we got back, it was kind of like, is the next ship going to be going out? And the one that we were on was not. They were docked.
Right.
So some were still out and everybody else was being docked. So that's how much in the timing that our vacation kind of was like, we came back and we're like, oh, this virus. And at first, we were like, oh, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Worse and worse and worse. And it was interesting because a lot of things had changed with us. My personal life, we had been talking about moving and we were talking about, plans for getting a house and trying to see what we could do. And with this happening, my mother-in-law ended up staying with us for a while, and that turned into a permanent thing. And our niece, not my niece, not my biological niece, my partner's niece, was up, and that caused an issue because they're not even from the area, they're from another state.
Yeah.
And so they went on lockdown and mom couldn't come back up for their child who was a baby.
Yeah.
And so we actually ended up helping to raise her part-time,
Yeah.
which was great because I just love kids. And we got to see this, be part of this child's life. And we still are. We got to see her, go from this little thing to now she's walking and talking.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, just, a couple with, it's just us, no kids, nobody is living with us. And then all of a sudden we're helping to raise a child and have my mother-in-law living with us while trying to do a business.
Yeah.
So my personal life got very busy and crazy. There was some other personal stuff that happened as well, with my health. So that was not good, but it is what it is. We have
Yeah.
to still try.
Yeah, I remember when I think it was in March, and the main panic, well, maybe not panic, but the main concern about COVID, during all these stories, and one of them was that cruise ship where all the passengers were just locked up in their cabins, and they were like, they were Facebook living the whole situation,
Mhm.
live streaming the whole situation. Like, hey, I'm still stuck in here, and blah blah blah, and it's pretty frantic. And now we're docked, but we've been docked for 2 days, and they're not letting us off. You started seeing like all these different situations, and then of course TikTok blows up with all these quarantined, husband and wife, significant other videos, family videos, and things of that nature. And as we kind of developed into this new normal, we kind of started to settle back. So it was probably the longest 6 months. Now that you look back at it, you're like, wow,
Yep.
that's that's right. In March and April, we weren't allowed to drive across state lines.
No, no.
And I remember that. And I remember talking to my uncle. I have an aunt and uncle who have property in Florida and in Maryland, and they were concerned about their house in Maryland, and they were calling me from Florida, and I was like, you might be able to get away with telling the cop there's a family emergency back home. I think they have some loopholes, but really it's just a property emergency. I think it was like a not even an emergency. It was a property concern, of course. But I said, hey, you could probably get out of it and say there's a family emergency or something. But I don't think there's any driving across state lines right now. I remember that conversation, and
Yep.
that was
For a while.
that was probably only 5 months ago, and
Yeah.
and it feels like almost a year now. It's mid-September.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this year, 2020, seems like it's forever. In other ways, it's like, where did it go? Where did
Like,
it?
yeah, I mean, we need a huge drastic change in November.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's just got to change. Huge drastic change. I don't know how political you want to get, but
Well,
it's just
I'm unique. I might surprise you.
yeah. Well, before we go there, has I'm glad things have worked out, and obviously you and your partner are healthy, and everyone's healthy now and doing well.
Yes, thankfully.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I mean that's just great that we've all been able to pull through.
Hmm.
Now we're all just prepping, huh?
But I do have relatives that are ill, but it's not COVID-19 related. So
Yeah.
I do worry about, that one relative because they are in the hospital and you never know, but they are taking precautions. So
Hmm.
that's good.
Yeah. Plastic sheets everywhere. Plastic walls everywhere. Yeah. I get it. Has there been anything you've been binge watching, binge reading to escape past the time and
Well,
swap?
nothing that I've been watching due to COVID-19 or anything. I have used the time to watch movies. And it's so funny. I was making a list for myself for this interview, and I didn't realize that I had actually watched more movies than I realized. I used to be, I mean, I still am. I'm a movie buff. Movies and TV. I mean, I'm in the industry, so of course I'm going to watch these things, these projects. But I used to watch movies all the time and know about the first new show and who was in it and what it was about and how it was rated. But then, as you get older, you kind of have a life and don't watch
Right.
TV as much. You don't go to the movies as much. So I was making this list, and I was like, wow, I actually have been watching more than I even realized. So yeah, I haven't binged on anything. I will admit, and we can talk about this in a moment. Last night I did watch the controversial movie Cuties.
Cute cooties. Oh, cooties. Yeah, it's like what is that? A high school zombie?
No, oh, you don't know about Cuties?
Oh, cuties. You mean like you're cute?
Cuties,
Okay.
TIES. Very controversial right now.
Okay.
It's a French movie. It was directed by a French director, and she wrote it. And yeah, people are wanting to cancel their Netflix subscription. It's that controversial.
Oh wow. Wow. Okay.
So I finally
So
that.
so it's the French movie Mi, Min, Mignons
Yes, and Mignon.
and Mignon. Okay. All right. Here, let's see. I'm gonna and I like you were saying, you're experimenting with your setup. I'm always trying to experiment with my setup. So let's see what pops up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, screen.
Oh, that Mignons. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mignon.
So yeah, French movie. Okay.
Yes, that would be it. One of the controversies was that poster there was the French poster. For the American promotion and release, they used a different poster,
Mm-hmm.
and that created an uproar. And because those girls that you see in the poster are they're representing 11-year-old girls.
Oh boy. Okay.
And if you type in that image, I'm sorry, if you type in that title and go to images, and you'll probably see the other poster.
All right. So you said it's on Netflix?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'll mention it. And it's funny because I haven't seen any advertisements like on Netflix. Me and the wife just watch Netflix, so I guess it's still on there, but they're not kind of advertising it as much.
Like I said, it's a huge controversy, and it was the controversy that made me want to watch it. I spoke to a couple people, and some people are like, with what everybody's saying, we're not watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where I'm a little different, if not completely different. When I hear about controversy, or when I hear that things are causing an uproar, my first thought is what message is the audience missing?
Exactly. Yeah.
We tend to get a lot of anger and get upset without seeing the reality of things.
Yeah.
Now, the first 10 minutes of watching this movie, I already knew why it became a controversy. And whether people want to admit this to themselves or not, this is what I see. It's a French movie, so there's accents with the actors. The actors have accents. Okay, it wasn't English. I could tell at least some of the movie was dubbed, but I'm in the industry, so of course I'm going to notice that more than most people.
Mm-hmm.
It was about a French family that were French and also Senegalese. So some of them were part of the family was from Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
It was also about a family from Senegal who is Muslim. So within the first 10 minutes, you have a Black family living in France, Muslim religion that have an accent. Well, I'm sorry, but I can say this now, and I've said it in the past. Racism exists.
Yeah.
And when we watch a movie and we have an issue or we're uncomfortable with stuff that we're not comfortable with or educated about, we become uncomfortable. So I have no doubt in my mind that a lot of people who are talking about this controversy already had, excuse me, already had prejudgment.
Yeah.
They already did. I mean, let's just face it. And then it is a French movie. I'm not gonna lie. If this was an American-made movie, it would have gone one of two ways. One, it would have been a lot more explicit, and it probably would have been rated R, and it wouldn't have been considered a kid movie, and it probably wouldn't have been distributed in the same way. Or it wouldn't have been distributed at all. That's the other way. It just wouldn't have been made. I find the hypocrisy interesting in this movie. You know, I watched it with an open mind. The controversy of the movie Cuties is saying that it's about an 11-year-old girl. They advertise pedophilia. The dances are sexualized. The girl shouldn't be wearing such sexual clothing and outfits. Well, okay. I don't necessarily disagree that 11-year-olds should not be wearing tight, short spandex shorts and cropped tops. The movie wasn't about their outfit, though, and it wasn't about the dance moves. And that's where the uproar is, and that's the problem.
Right. Yeah.
The movie is actually about 11-year-old girls having this problem with finding identity,
Mm-hmm.
especially when, such as in America, women are sexualized.
Sure.
You do see posters of models half dressed women on billboards. You do see women in music videos twerking and doing sexual movements. What people missed was the 11-year-old girl, Ami, or the English name is Amy. Ami stole her cousin's cell phone and used the cell phone to learn how to dance after finding these other girls who were dancing for a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They were sometimes dressing provocative, but again, they were dressing because they're trying to find their own identity. And when you're 11, you're going from a child to prepubescent to trying to figure out your identity.
Yeah.
I mean, teenagers have trouble with identity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now that's still an issue in preteens. So
Yeah.
the movie's about, and then on top of it, it was a culture. Now, what I found really interesting that all the controversy I read, nobody mentioned the girls slapping each other's asses. Nobody mentioned it or tried to say that it was a lesbian movie because of the ass slapping.
Right.
And they also didn't mention how when Ami got caught by her aunt in the movie, she was punished. Her mother slapped her and abused her. Well, at least what Americans would consider to be called abuse.
Right.
That's in the controversy. you know? Um, there are other parts of the movie when she takes a picture of her underwear, but it wasn't because she was trying to be sexual. It was because these 11-year-olds wanted to be seen as adults by their teenage crushes,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
So there was a fight at the school, and the one girl's underwear were exposed, and then she got made fun of. And so she thought a proper way to say, look, I'm an adult, even though she's not. And if you're watching this with an open mind and actually really looking into it, you're going to say, oh my God, she's not even asking anybody about this. She's just making this impulsive decision. She actually goes and like takes a picture of her grown up looking underwear and posts it on social media,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, if Facebook, yes, has an age group, you have to be 13, but let's face it, these kids today, they get the phone and the computers and they know more than their parents sometimes. They
Hmm.
don't know what they're posting, you know?
Right.
And that's what the movie's about. They don't know. They're impulsive.
Well, so I remember when I was, geez, I don't know. I think I know I was in high school, and Kids came out. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Kids. Rosario Dawson got famous off of Kids. Um,
I may have.
but it was just as honest and groundbreaking, and it was pretty intense, and it was about you know uh 95. Yeah, it came out in 95. Oh, what's it? And the director's name, Harmony Korine wrote it,
Okay.
and Harmony Korine is known for Bully,
Mhm.
Gummo, and his first big hit as a writer anyway was Kids,
Okay.
and
And
and and and so I'm sure the actors that they hired are 18 or over, but there's some pretty explicit sex scenes, and these kids are like freshmen, they're eighth graders and ninth graders,
mhm,
and of course there was some controversy, but it got two thumbs up.
mhm,
It had very minor controversy. There were a lot of, you had your very very way to the right groups maybe speaking out against it, but like who doesn't? They always speak out against everybody, every single rap. They spoke out about every single rap album and metal album that came out, and Nirvana that came out as well. So, but it was it was regarded. Look, it's regarded. And I'll do another screen share here. But it was regarded as a freaking wake up call to a generation type film. And I'm sure this film, and I'm sure you've seen um, you know, this was a film that came out and it broke a lot of boundaries. The ending was shocking. The ending was borderline horrifying. It was a wake up call to,
mhm.
like, what these kids are doing.
Right.
What these kids are up to these days. And so, I mean, they weren't 11-year-olds,
No.
but they were, I think, story wise, anywhere from 14 to 17, and there was full frontal nudity. There was all
Wow.
it was a hard R movie.
Mhm.
And one of the main plot lines is that one of them has AIDS,
Okay.
and they don't know it, and they're just talking about like how one of the guys takes advantage of one of the guys takes advantage of girls with special needs
Oh.
because they're easy. And one of the guys is just one of the guys is the one that's just passing drugs to everybody
Oh.
to
Mhm.
to get laid as well. And it's one of those, and so it just seems like to me like cuties is French is a little bit even more honest, more
Mhm.
maybe more extreme with the age
Mhm.
version of Kids. And but they're telling it's someone's taking a risk, and someone's telling an honest story. And the experiment is not sci-fi or fantasy. The experiment is the risk.
Well, and it's reality. And that's I kind of want to be careful, but kind of don't here. Um, that That's kind of part of the problem with our society. You have to face facts. This stuff is happening, whether
Yeah,
you want it or not to. It's not about saying, oh, that person or oh, that kid. It's about talking about it. And instead of hiding behind the, oh, we don't talk about that. No, you should be talking about it. That's the problem. I mean, I can go on and use multiple situations and my feelings, but I just feel that the less that's talked about, the more problems are created.
sure. Now, on the other hand, I think there's a bunch of groups, far left, far right. There's a bunch of groups that, first off, their job is to have issues with something, or they wouldn't have their organization. They wouldn't have their group. Now, I think it's important to, spotlight hate crimes. Obviously, it's important to spotlight hate, ignorance. That needs to be called out. But
I agree.
so like a number of concern controversies over, and this is super minor. This is like little stuff, but there's all these advertisements now with non-gender specific relationships, and all these advertisements with interracial relationships and same-sex relationships and non-gender specific. And my first response is like, are you even watching the advertisements? Like, why do you give a shit? You know what I'm saying? You,
Nothing better.
when I was a kid and the commercial came on, I walked away. If on YouTube or Hulu, if you can skip the ad, you will. Sometimes on Hulu you can't skip the ad. So what do I do now? Like I did with the old basic cable. I walk away from a commercial. I'm not watching these commercials and being like, oh, they're force feeding me like I'm not paying attention to the freaking advertisements. And so far left and well, mostly far right now, it's just attacking all these little things. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, why do you care? This is a French film and it's telling a story. Why does this bother you so much? Don't watch it. Clearly it's rated TVMA.
Right. Well,
It's no, go ahead.
if you don't mind, I'd like to answer that.
Sure.
So the reason people care is because it's a change.
Yeah.
It's a change.
Well,
And,
it's coming. It's a change, and it's coming at non-progressives, and it's bothering them. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, the thing, what I find funny is that we as humans seem to have a hard time adapting to the one thing that is constant. So if it's constant, why can't you adapt? Maybe it's too constant. I don't know. But it's change. We have trouble with change. And if that change is something that we're not used to, or we've never heard of, or don't know, then instead of listening, we tend to not know how to deal with that feeling of being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So we immediately go to a complaint. That uncomfortable feeling we address as anger or upset instead of admitting to ourselves, well, I don't understand. That's another thing. We seem to have trouble saying, I don't understand that. Can you explain it to me? It's okay to be educated. It's okay to say I don't understand. And it's also okay to accept something you don't get, so now, you know, there's cisgender, binary, non, so what? So what?
Why does that bother you?
Hurting anybody. That's
So
what people feel comfortable with.
yeah, no. There. So it's funny. There's a guy I knew. We were saying jokes and this, that, and the other thing, and he goes, "Oh, I don't care, just not in my house." And I said, "You know what? Can't argue with that. Some gay stuff or some non-gender stuff,
Mhm.
not in my house." hey, listen, can't argue with that. That's your house. But but generally he's accepting. But can't argue with that guy.
You're not really accepting. That's the problem.
Okay, so to a point, you're right. To a point, he's not accepting it, but only in his house.
You're
And
tolerating it in the public. See,
sure,
that's another thing. Our society doesn't, and the reason that I say society, and I always like to bring this up, is I only know about the American society. I don't live in other societies, so I can't represent them.
hmm
So when I say our society, that is my reasoning. In our society, we seem to think, well, there's two problems. One, we think tolerating and acceptance are the same thing, and they're not. And
correct.
for example, your friend is tolerating something he doesn't understand, but because he doesn't want to witness anything in his environment, therefore he has to be in control. He's not accepting. And
Absolutely.
there's a big difference there. But that, to me, it's better to tolerate
Then
and
not.
discriminate,
Yep.
but
True.
accepting is where we really need to be. And
Sure.
really not to accept is, it's just because we're ignorant and we're uneducated. And to be honest, there in 2020, there's no reason for you to be uneducated. I mean, unless you literally are like older and can't read, or
Or
you
you have
read, or
you have no idea how to use a computer, or
libraries still exist.
library still exists. Yeah, you're right.
Even if you don't have a computer, you can go to a library. So
Yep.
literally, if you can't read and you don't know how to talk to somebody, like those are really like extremes that are reasons that I'm okay.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And back on a couple other points, it's like this is art, and so if you a film, if you want to take a look at a film, is similar to, say, a painting. You go to a museum, you don't like a painting, you walk past it and look at something else. It clearly states it's TVMA. And you know there were some concerns, I want to say, like maybe a year or two ago. Idris Elba was going to play James Bond, and Michael B. Jordan was going to play Superman. And there's a bunch of comic book nerds, or there's other folks like up in an uproar. Oh man, look what they're doing. I'm like, why do you care? It's a fictional character. If
But they can't answer that. That's the problem.
they won't.
No, I bet you they can't. You should ask them next time.
They might be able to answer it. They just won't, honestly.
Try it next time. Next time.
but
Ask
at the okay, it's a fictional character. I don't care what race he is. If he's a Kryptonian that landed in Smallville and was raised with the small town American values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that's Superman. I don't care if he's black, white, or Asian, or Middle Eastern, or Latino. Who cares? It's a fictional character. If you have a biopic, you can't have a white guy playing Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, and you can't have a black guy playing JFK or Abraham Lincoln, because historically, them being white doing something, or them being black and doing something, is what made what they did matter.
Mm-hmm.
But a black James Bond, who cares? It's a fictional character. He's a spy. And I think, if reading some of the YouTube fan theories, in the next Daniel Craig James Bond, he passes the 007 torch to a younger black female spy. So that's going to be the next 007. She's not going to be James Bond, but she's going to be the next 007. And so I don't see a freaking problem with that, because this is a fictional, huh?
There isn't one.
There isn't. Of course, there isn't one, but
the problem is in the person that thinks it's a problem.
So
have to look inside themselves.
Right.
Ask why they have a problem.
And I think you're right. It's like, ask them, okay, what is the problem? And be honest and say it out loud. Mm-hmm. And even better. Now there's these non-gender specific restrooms. Mm-hmm. or now it's legal for a man who now identifies as a woman to use the woman's room, and vice versa, a woman who identifies as a man to use the men's room. So an older an older guy said to me, like, what if a guy goes in there and says that and tries to rape my daughter in the women's room? And I'm like, bro, if a guy wants to go into a women's room and rape your daughter, he's going to go in the women's room and rape your daughter.
Thank you.
Whether uh
Well, and see, this brings back to the whole issue about sexualizing things. Our country does that. We put a sexual connotation anywhere we can, and then we complain about it.
and it's not just sexual, it's label after label after label after label after label. And what kind of and what definitely woke me up, I'm sure I was definitely ignorant in my 20s and early 30s, but what woke me up was certain colleagues, certain family members nonstop trying to label me and what I do. And a couple of years later, I'm doing something different. A couple of years later, I'm doing stunts and I'm acting.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, you're an actor now. And I'm like, bro, let's keep it simple. I'm a filmmaker. You can tell people I'm a filmmaker and an actor. Yeah, but what do you do, bro? It's this simple. I'm a filmmaker and an actor. Like, are you not familiar with the term filmmaker and actor? And so that's when it woke me up. Like, people have to put like this specific label on black women, black men, black gay women, black gay men, white women, gays, straights, lesbians, men's room, women's room. It has to be like this fine. And I'm like, dude, it's never, it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. No, no, we're not food. We don't need a label.
Right. Absolutely. Well, awesome. That was a great talk. What the hell are the rest of my points for this show? I don't even know now. uh, but I mean, yeah, I I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you got like Tiger King. Uh, Tiger King was, I don't know if you saw that one. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
To watch that one yet, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, but like I've seen enough of those controversial films. Kids. I mean, I'm probably not interested in cuties only because I personally have no interest in it. If it's not a horror action superhero thing, I'm probably not into it. So,
Right.
but I mean, if the wife watches this episode and then she's like, "Hey, you want to watch it?" Then I'll watch it. But but yeah, like I just think people don't like to leave their comfort zone.
No, they don't. But and you're probably you probably want to end soon too. So I'll try to keep it brief. But that also goes into the whole topic of mental health.
Hmm.
We're not comfortable in our skin, and we're not comfortable with this and that. And how do we become comfortable with this and that? With
Yeah,
changes and what's in front of us and accepting what's different.
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
I will mention that Malakai Entertainment, we, like I said in our mission statement, we are an all-inclusive company, and although we will read all scripts sent to us and consider them, no matter what, one of the things that that we will be specializing in are movies that bring a message, a very special message, like the movie Kids or um, Cuties or let me see, back in the day, Boys Don't Cry, a Girl
That's
Interrupted.
it.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, we want those movies. And one of the reasons being is we see that, and whether people want to admit it or not, the truth is the truth. And that is, we are more accepting when we see it in the media. We're more accepting when it's on a TV show. And that's why you have all those TV shows today.
Hmm.
Uh, before there was the new normal, and the Good Doctor is a perfect example. Um, Blackish is another. Now you've got Blackish and Mixish and other one, Youngish. you know,
And Black AF.
I don't know that one.
So Black AF is,
It's,
I think it's a fictionalized documentary, kind of like The Office, but it follows the creator. It follows the creator of Blackish.
yes, I think I've heard of it, but I haven't gotten into it yet.
And Rashida Jones. Rashida Jones plays his wife, but I think for the most part, everything's kind of fictional, but they really go off the rails on really satirizing uh, their lifestyle.
Mhm.
So I got a couple of episodes in, but we never picked up back on it. I don't know why. It was
No,
funny,
yeah.
but
Well, you know,
but you,
I say to people too, because a lot of people are, a lot of people are, they make fun of the LGBTIQ AASCIS, and I'm like, yeah. And if you ever notice, there's one letter that never makes it in.
the S,
H. Heterosexual.
homosexual, yeah.
Hetero.
Oh, heterosexual, yeah.
Because that's assumed unless you are part of the alphabet. And to me, it's like, how many more letters do we have to add until we can just say, stop discriminating, knock it off? Like, seriously, like, just stop.
Yeah, and
Like,
yeah,
sexual orientation, disabilities, um, learning disabilities, mental health. Like, people are human. So just like it's really not that complicated. You accept people for whom they are. Period.
yeah. Well, I think what's happened a lot is that the ones that don't accept are the ones that had, some little mommy issue or some little daddy issue. They had one little micro thing where they weren't accepted, and so they're doing the same. You
Uh,
know, a lot of times,
oh,
a lot of times bullies were bullied, and now they become bullies.
well, yes, I will agree with that. However, when is it hit, or when do we define the but you're not a child anymore? You're
Right.
not under mommy and daddy's roof anymore, and it's time to think for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, th- there were times where I've heard, like I'll disown you if you do this, or I won't accept this, I won't accept that. And now that I have a son, it's like, hey, listen, whatever you want to be it. I chose a different path than most of my family. I chose arts and entertainment, and performance and literature,
Mhm.
and I chose to do a little bit of military
Mhm.
and government work, but also it's like the main vast horizon goal is arts and entertainment. And a lot of people were like, nay to this, and what is this and what is that? And it's like, listen, man. So with my kid, it's like, obviously there's going to be rules, but once you're 18, it's like, bro, whatever you want to do it.
People are too worried about raising their kids with ridiculous restrictions. Not, don't love this person, or make sure you hate this person, or we don't like this. Instead of just focusing on, why don't you just raise a decent human being?
Right.
You know,
And you raise a good point, because a lot of that racism, a lot of the homophobia, a lot of discrimination is passed down from generation to generation to generation. I mean, that shit was taught in churches.
yeah, it was. And it's funny because earlier in this show you mentioned TikTok, and I admit I'm a TikTok addict now, thanks to COVID-19.
Hmm. Yeah.
But TikTok has become an outlet for people too.
Yeah.
And as I'm scrolling lately, especially lately, because it started out videos and then it kind of got comical. Well, it got really comical. But now it's an outlet. People are like, I have depression. If you can relate, follow me. I'm a single mom. If you can relate, follow me. And even today, in 2020, okay, I want to say that in 2020, there are kids, teenagers, who are being kicked out of their houses and their family for coming out of the closet. That's all. They didn't kill anybody. They didn't rob a bank. They weren't rude. They simply said, I have stronger attractive feelings towards the same gender. And their parents, who are supposed to protect and keep them safe, kicked them out of their house in 2020. And to me, that's pathetic. It's not even sad anymore. It's pathetic. And shame on America for still living in that type of culture. Whether it's, being gay or racist or whatever. Again, and I'm going to repeat myself, it's 2020. How many movies and protests have to be made before you realize what is and isn't okay? It's like you have to constantly re-raise children.
Sure. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. Movies. I've heard this a number of times from other different, motivational speakers, podcasters, celebrities. And I heard this quote, lead your life like you're the hero of a movie.
I've heard that.
Lead your life like you're the hero of a movie. What would Captain America do? What would Luke Skywalker do?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what choices would he make if he was the father of a son or a daughter coming out of the closet?
Exactly.
Or having being the father of somebody struggling to figure out their identity, choosing a different, career path, or, choosing, an obscure lifestyle. Mm-hmm. What, because first two come to mind. Captain America, Luke Skywalker. What would they choose? How would they choose to react? Lead your life.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said there's a movie idea.
Right. But, just make your decisions as if you're the hero of a movie and the whole world's watching this movie. What kind of decision does Captain America, Luke Skywalker, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, what kind of decisions do they make? Mm-hmm. And make those decisions. Don't be a racist asshole. Don't be physically abusive to your wife. Mm-hmm. And shit like that. I don't know, but that's kind of like how I see it. Like I always stop and think, like, what if I'm on CCTV right now? What if I'm on candid camera? What if I'm on security cams right now?
Yeah.
Wherever I go, whatever I do.
If they live their lives thinking that they might be recorded.
And aren't we all now? Like, if we step outside and we get into a fight with somebody, doesn't that shit end up on like 17 phones?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, sure. you've got protesters, and then you've got the opposing protesters, and they're all on camera now. And so,
well, yeah, but you have the protesters, and then you have the rioters, which are two different things too.
That's correct. That is correct. Yeah. Well, you mentioned so moving on. Let's cool down a little bit. Moving on. Malakai is accepting all sorts of stuff. So
yes.
What's next on the agenda, say 6 months to a year from now, for Malakai?
Well, like I said, the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, we have like 35, 36, 37. Yeah, 36 or 37. And I say 36, 37 because one's kind of in the air right now. Mm-hmm. Projects that we're looking at.
Awesome.
What I want to mention is Fade In. That is our TV reality show that we are extremely excited about because this is a reality show for the artist. So, A Fade In is created by Nicole Connors and Christina Olivier, and Malakai Entertainment will be producing the first season, hopefully all of them.
Hmm.
It will be filmed in New Jersey. Where exactly is kind of in talks right now. And what is Fade In? Fade In is kind of like Shark Tank meets American Idol or America's Got Talent.
So it's like a Shark Tank for artists.
Yeah, it's Shark Tank meets American Idol, but for your screenwriter or your producer or
Okay.
director, whoever basically is the owner of the project and wants to pitch it. So
Hmm.
you have a project and you want to pitch the project to a company to have the project produced, you would enter this contest. So season one, we really are doing our best to have it run and be aired the spring of 2021. And we plan on going into pre-production the winter of 2021. So we're moving really fast with that. So we're currently taking submissions. You can email at malakaientertainment.com if you would like to submit. Now, before you do, I want you to go to fadeintv.com and look at the requirements. This is not a TV show for someone just starting out for filming. So there's requirements. We're expecting your budget to be under $700,000, and your pitch will be judged by three well-known judges. And we already have our host. Our host is William DeMeo, who is known for one of his guest appearances on Sopranos. And he also wrote, produced, and directed Gravesend. And that is a show on Amazon Prime that is still going. And what else can I tell you about it? So yeah, it gives you an opportunity, it gives the filmmaker an opportunity to pitch your project. Usually you want to pitch, you want to have a pitch deck, you want to have a treatment, you want to have a trailer, no more than 2 minutes. And this is the same as if you were going to pitch to NBC or Lifetime or Paramount. The difference being we're not a network yet. We are working towards becoming a network, and the winner project will be produced by Malakai Entertainment, and the judges will be investors.
Hmm.
And some of the investors were hoping to be celebrities. So that's
Awesome.
right now. So
Hell
like
yeah.
we have one actor that's going to be hosting who's getting their name out there right now. And we're currently looking for celebrity investors slash judges to be part of the show. So if you're watching, give us a call.
Well, I hope in like my 12 subscribers, one of them is no, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure I have a bigger viewership than that, but I don't know. Maybe working on it, working on building it. What were we saying?
You'd be surprised to watch these types of interviews
Yeah,
and not when you're not live. Just keep playing it out, put it on your website, put it on our website. We can advertise your show.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, what's your view of the new normal?
The show or what
Like
people are calling as our culture.
what? Yeah, what culturally, what people are calling the new normal? What's your view? What's something that stands out in your mind when you think new normal?
Honestly, I My partner said to me today, um, "You're a nut from a different bag of nuts," because I look at things so differently than the majority of people. It's
Mhm.
really hard for me to answer that question, not because I don't know how, but because to me, nothing's really changed.
Yeah, yeah,
So we have to wear a mask. I always, you know, I'm culturally diverse. I know that in China, it's normal to wear a mask if you're sick. And I often questioned that on why we never did that and why we never picked that up.
yeah,
But we do. I'm like, okay, so when you're sick, you wear a mask. Well, it's so you don't get other people sick. Okay, to me, that's logical. It makes
yep,
sense. So to me, I'm like, okay, so we have to adjust to a logical reasoning. And really not that big of a deal. And
yeah,
so, okay, so it's a virus we don't know anything about. So we're taking extra precautions. It might not be as bad as people think. It might be even worse. We don't know. So precautions are being taken. So use common sense and take the precautions and go about your life.
awesome, awesome. Yeah. Well, it's glad that you're accepting scripts, all sorts of diverse scripts, because I might have to hit you up in maybe a month or two if I can sit my ass down and buckle down on this laptop. but but yeah. Any last minute bit of advice for our viewers?
Um, like I said, any last bit of advice? Well, I'm sure I could give a lot of advice. Question is which advice would be the best?
What's one point, if you could make just one point to our viewers, what would that be?
Stop stressing. Stop stressing when you don't have to. Stop making the non-complicated complicated. I mean, seriously, stressing. We all have stress in our lives, so why add to it? You know, um,
Right.
you spend your time figuring out how you're gonna pay your credit card off, or how you can have more time with your kids and your family, or make bread from scratch. Use this time, this downtime, to teach your kids how to make an apple pie from scratch. Fall season's coming. Instead of stressing out about being hateful, and being discriminatory. That kind of hate gives you wrinkles. It really,
Yeah.
that that stress is really hurtful on your body, your mental health, and your physical well-being. So just like seriously, knock it off and grow up.
Let's
Like,
see here.
I just tell people to grow up.
Yeah.
But I mean, Frankie say relax, don't do it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there,
That's it. Just don't do it. Just don't say the dumb shit you want to say, I guess.
there's real stressors in life. I mean, there's parents who have 3-year-olds who are dying of brain cancer. They've got a right to be stressed out to the max. Build a nonprofit to help parents like that.
Yeah.
Parents who are being alienated, from their kids. Figure out how to help them. You know, Find a way to be more loving instead of hateful because you don't understand the difference, and you don't understand how to be comfortable in your own skin because something is new. New is good.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Lastly, any socials, links, plugs you want to put out there?
Sure, MalakaiEntertainment.com is our website. We are on every social media you could probably think of. Well, no, I shouldn't say everyone, but I mean, we are on TikTok, we're on Snapchat, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. Malakai Entertainment, Malakai Entertainment LLC. Twitter, it's Malakai Ent, ENT, because we couldn't fit the entertainment. Instagram, it's Malakai Entertainment LLC. Facebook, it's LLC. LinkedIn, basically just look to see if we've posted recently, and that's the most recent. Because sometimes with social media, the company themselves have actually created a page for us and we didn't know it. So then we ended up with 2 or 3. So to find the legitimate one where we're actually posting, just look to see the latest post, because I try to stay up with all of that. So I think
Yep.
the last post was, last week.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
We even
All right.
have YouTube and Vimeo.
Oh, and Vimeo, yeah.
Although I'm not on Tumblr too much, we are busy. So we're going to need a social media manager soon. So I'll put that in some people's heads as well. We will need a social media manager soon. I'm not talking next week, but maybe next month. We still have some other positions we're kind of interviewing for, but
Awesome.
be afraid to call.
Awesome. Well, Laura, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Some hardcore discussion there. I liked it. Great ideas, great stories, a lot of great information.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again for coming on. And to my viewers, I certainly hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has. And until next time, you know what to do, and check us out next time.
Absolutely. Bye.